What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, December 20th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:09 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela this afternoon. So apparently the U.S. has seized another oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. This is being confirmed by multiple U.S. officials who spoke to various mainstream media outlets. So another oil tanker seized off of Venezuela. We don't know the details about it just yet. And right now we have multiple U.S. Special Operations planes flying in the Caribbean. Here you can see a C-146 Wolfhound that just took off from Puerto Rico. This is known to be a U.S. Special Operations transport plane. We also have a Special Operations C-130 flying down to Puerto Rico right now. Call sign Grog 71. And then we also have other C-130s flying to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. So lots of activity here today. Busy afternoon for the U.S. military. And also we have this U.S. military plane that just completed some type of a search grid off the coast of Guyana, Trinidad, and Venezuela. You can see it was doing this search grid here, flying really low. I don't know if that was related to the seizure of the oil tanker or if they're looking for drug boats or other oil tankers, but clearly a search grid being performed there, and then multiple U.S. Special Operations planes buzzing around Puerto Rico, most likely related to the seizure of this oil tanker. And in case you guys didn't hear the big news yesterday evening, U.S. Central Command conducted a massive strike on ISIS targets. Apparently, U.S. and Jordanian fighter jets were involved in the strikes, and it was called Operation Hawkeye Strike. U.S. Central Command did release footage. They hit more than 70 ISIS targets with 100 plus munitions. And we're hearing that F-15s, A-10s, Apaches, and HIMARS batteries were involved in these strikes. And what's interesting is that the U.S. launched these strikes on ISIS the same night that the Justice Department released some of the Epstein files, which turned out to be a big controversy. We're hearing that the DOJ, Department of Justice, released only 6 or 7% of the total number of the Epstein files that were promised to be released. And we're hearing that the Department of Justice redacted the names of elite politicians and various powerful figures from the Epstein files, citing national security concerns. Wow. So interesting timing to suddenly blow up ISIS on the same night that only a little bit of the Epstein files were released. And the Republican Representative Thomas Massie stated that a Justice Department in the future could convict Attorney General Pam Bondi and others for their handling of the Epstein files, which he states has been in serious violation of the rule of law imposed by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Okay, so he's saying that basically Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice violated the Epstein Files Transparency Act. They were supposed to release all of the files yesterday, and they only released a very small amount. And according to the U.S. Justice Department, the same redaction method for victims was also applied to any quote-unquote politically exposed individuals and government officials that were mentioned in the included Epstein files. Okay, so they're basically saying, look, we redacted people's names that were politicians and government officials. Okay, so that means Trump's not going to be in these Epstein files. Neither are any current administration officials, and possibly various business people that are connected to the administration now. And on Tuesday, December 16th, the U.S. Navy carried out the first ever launch of a one-way attack drone, a copy of the Iranian Shahed 136, which Russia has used extensively in Ukraine. And it was launched from the flight deck of the Independence-class littoral combat ship, the USS Santa Barbara, while transiting the Arabian Sea. So remember, Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, said that we would start making drones, and that was going to be a big focus of the Defense Department. Well, it looks like they're starting to test these drones. So big leap forward for the U.S. military. Imagine how many of these drones we can mass produce. And the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said Russian troops are exerting pressure, but this does not mean that we are ready to surrender. So he's referring to the current peace plan, where basically the Trump administration is demanding that he surrender and Ukraine surrenders. And according to recent reports by the U.S. intelligence community, Russian President Vladimir Putin still intends to capture all of Ukraine and reclaim parts of Eastern Europe that previously were part of the Soviet Union, such as the Baltics and Poland, despite ongoing negotiations and claims by both the U.S. and Russian officials that Russia and Putin want to end the war in Ukraine. This assessment having been accepted and corroborated over the last few years by both intelligence agencies in Europe and the U.S., has remained roughly the same since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, with it expected that Russia will eventually provoke a direct conflict with NATO. Okay, so the U.S. intelligence community, the European intelligence community, both saying that Russia still plans to take all of Ukraine and to invade the Baltics and possibly Poland, or at least attack Poland. Okay. And the head of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine, Kirilo Budanov, stated that by 2027, there is a probability of a direct conflict between Russia and European countries. He said that Russia plans to occupy the Baltic countries, but he said Poland is considered solely for strikes and for a military campaign without occupation. Okay, so Russia would basically attack Poland with drones and missiles, but not necessarily try to take land from Poland like they would the Baltics. Okay, but he's saying by 2027, Russia's going to invade the Baltics and then possibly attack Poland somehow. Very concerning. And on Friday evening, the Russian army carried out a massive ballistic missile attack against the city of Odessa in Ukraine, which is the major port city on the Black Sea for Ukraine. And apparently they attacked various types of infrastructure there, bridges and ports, okay? So very interesting. Russia hasn't done that in a long time, or really ever. This was a concentrated attack strictly on Odessa and their infrastructure there. And Thailand and Cambodia are still at war. Thailand deployed F-16 fighter jets yesterday to conduct airstrikes, apparently dropping 3 bombs on some kind of a casino that Cambodia was using as a base for their army. And the Cambodian Ministry of Defense announced that Thai aircraft bombed a bridge deep inside of Cambodian territory last night. And I want to remind you guys that China is supporting Cambodia. Cambodia is a communist country still, and China has been giving them rocket launchers and anti-tank missiles and various types of modern military equipment. Okay, But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with a live update. So make sure you have your notifications turned on. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Patreon. The links are in the description down below to all of my other platforms. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from NYPrepper Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video.